Good morning, everyone. How are you? This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. And I'm here to help you build your best cloud computing career. Hopefully, I don't look a little too dirty today. A minute ago, I literally accidentally spilled a 16-ounce coffee all over my desk. I'm lifting up my four monitors, getting under my brand new Apple keyboard that was soaked in coffee. So it's one of those days, but I'm here to help you build your career. And I love helping people build careers, and I love when people get cloud hired. So that's why I do this. I've been working in tech now for about 25 years, helping people get their first tech jobs for over 20 years. I've trained people that work at Cisco, Google, Microsoft, AWS, Bearing Point, Accenture, Apple, Deloitte, and of course, JP Morgan Chase takes a tremendous number of our students, and I want to help you get cloud hired. There's a huge difference between what's taught on certification versus what's actually necessary to actually work in the field. And I want you all to know how to get that job of your dreams. I want you to know how to get there, the things you need to learn, the qualities you need to have, because I want you all to be cloud hired, because that's why I do what I do. So I come online completely free 3 times per week for the following reason. So you have all the skills to get hired, and you can build a plan. I know for a fact with the right plan, you can get there. I've got somebody getting hired almost every day of the week. But I also know with the wrong plan, you can be going back and forth for years and never get to your goals. So I want you to get to your goals, have the absolute best technology careers, and that's why I'm here. Before we begin, there's a couple things that I want to tell you about that we're doing free to help you build your cloud computing career. Next Thursday, we'll have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, where I will literally tell you everything you need to know to get hired. The things that need to be on your resume, how to skip HR when you don't have experience, the things you actually need to learn which are not covered in certifications, because 90% of it is not in your certification. I'm going to tell you that right now. What needs to be on your resume to get the interview, and how to make people come to you as opposed to you applying for jobs and get auto-rejected and you have no experience. The next thing I want to let you know is in October, we've got an AWS Bootcamp, a complete free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, and it's going to be nothing like you'll see in those other courses where they blah, 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 blah about a name of a service and teach you how to configure that service. We'll actually make sure you understand it. It'll be live and free, where I'll present for 20 minutes and you guys can ask questions for 10 minutes. And we'll do that, repeat that all week long, because I need you to know how the skills you need. And none of that's covered in any of these courses that are out there. They talk about a name of a service and how to configure that. And guess what? That's not what architects do at all. We design it, present it, and sell it. And it's a completely different set of skills. So at least on this week, I'll explain the AWS services and make sure you know them and understand what they are. Now in November, I'm going to also run a free AWS Networking Plus. And the reason I say it a plus is the AWS Advanced Networking doesn't have anything that you need to know in it. It is not even an intro to an intro to an intro to a junior level networking. But because I'm one of the first Cisco certified internet experts, I worked for Cisco for a decade. I trained network engineers for over a decade, and I've trained them at Cisco, Riverstone Networks, WorldCom, which is now Verizon, and I've done it for decades. I'm going to teach you the AWS Advanced Networking plus what you need to know, and we'll cover all those critical things that are not covered in the AWS Advanced Networking that employers need that are necessary for you. So we'll cover that in November. So please sign up. The links for these 2 great free courses are in the chat box and the description below. Now, today I just released another magazine article in Training Mag about why you need to be more than just certified to be a cloud architect. And I talked about some of the most critical things you need to know. So somebody from my team, please drop a link to that article, because I want people to know how to get hired. And it's not just a blog. I mean, these are professional journals we're in, so please pop that link and follow us on LinkedIn, because we have so many free things coming next month. I have one of the VPs from NVIDIA talking to you about what hiring managers really want in an employee, and it's not certifications. I'm going to tell you right now. So please follow us on LinkedIn. And of course, we temporarily have a 30% off fall discount, meaning it's 30% off of every one of our courses. The Cloud Architect course, the Cloud Engineering course, and all those things that you need to know. So please take advantage of the coupon code 30fall for 30% off. So please bring in and answer your questions so I can do anything I can to help you build your cloud computing career. But in the chat box, I want to know who you are. Give me a hashtag cloud engineer, or a hashtag cloud architect, or a hashtag network architect, or a hashtag enterprise architect, so I know what you want to do. And so, you know, it may not be fall for all you guys. For example, Leo and my team is south of the equator. Another of my students, many of my students are, say, in South Africa or Australia or other parts below the equatorial line. And for them, it's going to be coming springtime. So whatever the case is, I call it fall. I know it's spring for half of the people, but, we're a global audience. We've got students in every country in the world. We just thought it would be easier to just use one code, 30 fall. So use 30 fall and enjoy ourselves. So please ask me your questions in the chat box. Give me that hashtag cloud hired and a hashtag for your career, and I'll do anything I can for you to help you build your best cloud computing career. Tell me where you're from. I know we got a big group. I know my team right here is all over the place. I know Leo, who's my team, is in Brazil, for example. And I know that Eddie is in Cameroon right now, which is fantastic. I know Chris is in St. Petersburg. Let us know in the chat. And is it spring or fall for you? Let us know. Let us know. Eddie Patrick, good morning. Good afternoon for you. Cloud hired. Eric Coughlin, good morning. It's so good to see you, Eric. Welcome. Chris Johnson, I hope you have your questions ready. I hope so, because that's why I'm here, to answer your questions so you know how to get to your goals. Big Jerry, first time here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're thrilled to have you here. There you go. See, Eddie's already welcoming you. Big Jerry, you've been studying some AWS training on Udemy, but you're kind of lost. I'm sure you are. You think you've skipped a step and need to figure out more about what cloud jobs are out there. Can you shed light on some different roles? I absolutely can, Big Jerry. The first thing I'm going to tell you right now is if you've taken a course on Udemy, you're going to be completely lost. Completely lost. Because they don't define what the technology is. They don't know what the technology is. It's simply like the name of a service and how to configure that service, which, guess what? For the most part, nobody does in their careers. So I'm going to go over the three main careers that we talk about in cloud. The first one is the cloud architect. And the cloud architect is not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination. The cloud architect is an executive mixed with a technology professional. So what the cloud architect does, realistically speaking, is they interact with the customer. They ask the customer about their business goals, their business pain points, their business challenges. They look at what they're trying to achieve. Are they trying to increase the revenue? Are they trying to improve productivity? Are they trying to cut expenses? Are they trying to improve their supply chain? What are they trying to do? And then as a cloud architect, we go back to our organizations, we rally up a team, and we build a design for the solution for the customer. We go back to the customer, we present that solution back to the customer, and we sell it to the customer. And the cloud architect and the enterprise architect are the highest paid positions by far. And the reason that is when we design, present, and sell a solution, we bring that money to the company. The company loves us. We're a source of revenue. So this is the best job to have during a recession because we're there. Now, remember, the cloud architect is a business executive. The cloud architect, generally speaking, will never touch the technology. They design it, present it, and sell it. So, Big Jerry, I'd like you to think about the cloud architect being like a building architect. They design that building. Now, the reason all the Udemy and all these silly certification courses will not prepare you for an architect role is the architect is a systems designer. Now, these Udemy courses and all these other courses are basically teaching you how to do stuff, which the architects don't do. So, Big Jerry, for the architect, I want you to picture it this way. If I trained you how to use a hammer and a screwdriver and a saw, would you know how to design a hotel from the floor to the ceiling? Of course not. So all these learn by doing courses are completely worthless for the cloud architect because the cloud architect has to design the solution. So the cloud architect needs to know all of the underlying infrastructure and technologies. What are all those networking components? What are all those data center components? Because Big Jerry, what do? We take the stuff from the network and the data center and we move it to the cloud. And what can't you do with a network as a data center is move it to the cloud. So let's, for example, say I grew up in Philadelphia, which I did. Philadelphia has cheesesteaks. Everybody likes cheesesteaks, at least those of us from Philadelphia. If you didn't know what steak was, funny if you're from Philadelphia. If you didn't know what steak was, or cheese was, or onions were, or mushrooms and peppers work. And a hoagie roll, guess what? You would never have any idea how to design the sandwich. So the architect's training is more about what are the ingredients of the solution, the pieces and parts, and how they work. That's the architect. Business executive, we do not touch the technology, design, present, and sell. What is the certification training about? How to configure. Basically the same thing as how to use a screwdriver, and that's why it's completely irrelevant for the cloud architect. Now, the cloud engineer is something different, Big Jerry, and you still can't learn this in a Udemy course, and that's why we have a cloud engineering course. The cloud engineer is a deep, strong technology professional. They're the people that are glued to the computer all day long. The cloud engineer needs to know how to code because they're going to be programming as part of their job, mostly with Python, but they're going to run Bash shell scripts. The cloud engineer is going to be administering and setting up the systems. So the cloud engineer needs to have deep Linux skills because almost all the servers are Linux. Now the cloud engineer is going to be building stuff. And the stuff that's taught in certification, click here in the management console, that's not efficient if you have to configure a lot of things. The cloud engineer is going to be deploying it as infrastructure as code and not CloudFormation because it's proprietary. And 87% of customers use more than 2 clouds now. So all that silly stuff taught in the certification, again, is irrelevant because the cloud engineer needs to know how to use Terraform. It's used everywhere across all clouds like your customer base. Now, that cloud engineer needs to be very familiar with the command line and, of course, the management console. But for the engineer, it's all about the tech. So the cloud architect like me designs it. And once it's designed, it goes to a build team. The build team are cloud engineers, and they actually build it. So cloud architect, business executive, system designer, cloud engineer, system builder. Now, we also have the cloud admin, which for most part is a dying job. And the reason the cloud admin is a dying job, and that's what's being taught in these certifications, is because one DevOps engineer or a good cloud engineer can write an infrastructure as code script and they can replace, literally speaking, 50 cloud admins in a matter of minutes. So there's really no point in having a cloud admin, which is exactly what's being taught in these certification courses. So there's that. The next career, and I don't teach this career, but it's a great career, is the DevOps engineer. And the DevOps engineer, realistically speaking, is a software developer first. So that's not a career to go into by just getting a certification. You've got to be a software developer first because DevOps is actually merging software development with operations. So the DevOps engineer will be optimizing software release cycles. They're going to be using DevOps tools, Jenkins, Spinnaker, Git, and all those other things. Again, that's DevOps, which is a totally different career. The DevOps engineer is an expert on automation. The DevOps engineer is an expert on Kubernetes. The DevOps engineer is an expert in infrastructure as code, as well as software development and software development life cycles. So those are basically your careers. Design, present, and sell for the architect. Don't touch the tech. Design it, present it, and sell it. And that's why it's the highest paid by far, because of the business executive skills. Now, the next thing that you see for the engineer is hardcore training, hardcore engineering, hardcore Linux, hardcore coding, hardcore Terraform. That's your engineering work, hardcore networking. And then your cloud admin is pretty much a dying job. It was the lowest paying job in the world anyway. You don't want it. And that's what's being taught in the certification materials. And then, of course, there's the DevOps engineer. I don't teach it, but that's a career for software developers that want to move into tech. And then you're good. And they automate and optimize software delivery life cycles. All part of the team. You need them all. Well, Big Jerry, there's lots of other roles. There's cloud security architects that design the cloud security. So there's a lot more roles. Do you have a role in particular that you're interested in learning about? Because every job that existed in the network in the data center, like a network engineer, still exists on the cloud. Application developers still exist on the cloud. Same job, by the way. Nothing's changed. Database engineers in the data center, same job in the cloud. Nothing's different. It's kind of like meet the new boss. Same as the old boss from the Who. It's just where you're working. Are you working in a physical data center or coding that you're sticking your stuff in a physical data center? Or are you putting it on the cloud, which is, guess what? Just somebody else's data center that you're renting out. It's nothing different. It's the same tech we've been using for 20 years. And Big Jerry 23, I've been working on the cloud since 1996. It was the Frame Relay Cloud, then the APM Cloud, then the RFC 2547 BGP Cloud, then the VPLS Cloud, and now the other cloud. It's all the same. Hope I answered your question, but please ask more. And from being from Philadelphia, fantastic. Where'd you go to school? I went to Temple University undergraduate, Widener University graduate. And I went to Council Rock High School in Bucks County, and then I lived in Northeast Philadelphia for many, many years and loved it, loved it, loved it. Raul Singh, good morning, Mr. Singh. Stefan, will the cloud engineer program prepare you to be a lead senior cloud engineer or junior cloud engineer? Well, I think it's unrealistic after a 500-hour training program to be a lead engineer. But some of my people are getting cloud engineer jobs. Some of them are actually getting the senior cloud engineer jobs, and some of them are getting junior cloud engineer jobs. So, Stefan, how hard are you willing to work? That's the real key. That's how hard you're willing to work. I have lots of people getting senior engineer jobs. I have people getting junior engineer jobs, and I've got regular people. But how hard are you willing to work? And a lot of that has everything to do. But Stefan, it's not just that. Do you want to know the difference between a senior engineer, that's $150,000 a year, and a $300,000 distinguished engineer? What if I told you it had nothing to do with your tech skills whatsoever? And Stefan, what if I told you I teach all of these skills in my course? And if I tell you the engineers that take these seriously get bigger and higher paying jobs, and the ones that don't take it seriously are relegated to the bottom. So here's the thing, Stefan, and I was really lucky. About 20 some years ago, my manager pulled me into a room. So Stefan, I was falling asleep in a CISSP boot camp. It was this 5-day boring boot camp. 5 days later, all 5,000 of us were CISSPs. My manager dragged me out of the room because I was snoring in the front row. And he proceeds to say to me, and he says, Michael, can we talk? And I figured I was going to get smacked around for falling asleep. And of course, that somebody spent $4,000 for my seat. And my manager says, look, we need to talk, Mike, because you're not a regular person. I was like, what am I? A bear? A lion? A cat? And he's like, no, not that. He says, you're not one of my normal engineers. I said, what does that mean? He says, look, you're equally competent as them. He's like, you're even more maybe. But the point is, that's not why I'm talking to you. He said, do you know the difference between a $150,000 sales engineer like you and a $300,000 enterprise architect or distinguished engineer? I said, tell me. And he says, look, Mike, it's the impact you make to your customer. How do you increase your customer impact? Stop getting certifications. They're not going to help you. Stop focusing your tech. That's not going to help you. It's your leadership skills. Can you rally a team and bring out the best in others? He says it's your sales skills. Can you sell your stuff to the customer? And can you sell internal management to give you the resources you need? He said it's your executive presence. Can you walk in and command the room? Are you going to say BGP is a path vector routing protocol that uses TCP port 179? Or are you going to say BGP is a path vector routing protocol that uses TCP port 179? He said, you know what to say to the CEO to command that deal, the CFO, the CIO, the CTO. And he said, that's called CXO relevancy, and you need to get there. And then he said, you write well for an engineer, but if you can learn how to write for executives and management, wow, that's there. And he said, Mike, your presentation skills are good, but they're not good enough. An engineer like you that wants to be a distinguished engineer or architect needs to be prepared to present in a multi-thousand person audience. And he said, Mike, you write well too, but not for the executive audience. He said, you learn those things, and I promise you, you'll be one of those $300,000 engineers or architects and not where you are. Well, what did I do? I took all that training, and between all the education that the company paid for and I paid for over the years, it was about $250,000 of training. A year later, guess what? I was in that high-end role. And it took very, very good care of me. So, Stefan, if you take advantage and take seriously the leadership skills in our program, the communication skills, the interview skills, the negotiation skills, and the presentation skills, there's a good chance you can become a senior cloud engineer out of our program. We don't, generally speaking, don't get any junior level roles, anything. Our students usually start out as solution architects or regular cloud engineers, not junior cloud engineers, regular ones or senior ones. But it's really about how seriously you take the training, and especially for engineers. And here's why this matters so much. So, Stefan, you may know everything, but if I interview you and you can't get it out simply and succinctly, I don't know that as the hiring manager. If I can't determine if you're an expert, you're a junior engineer. But if you can tell me clearly and I feel great and strong about you, then you'll be a senior engineer, because a lot of it's perception. So Stefan, I used to practice internal medicine. My first job was a senior network engineer. Within 6 months, I was the lead architect for the team at the world's largest internet service provider. So the key is, how hard are you willing to work in my program? Will you follow the program to the letter, to the T, and will you do it with energy, enthusiasm, and passion? On our live Zoom meetings, will you turn on your camera and participate in class? Those people get much bigger jobs than the people that just turn off their cameras, you ask them a question, and they're mum. So it depends on how hard you work, but you won't be a junior anything if you do the work. You'll be a regular or something. But becoming a lead, you're going to have some more experience for that for the most part. But you should get hired out of our program, and you should earn more than you've ever planned on in your life in our program because of those extra skills that we teach. Plus, Stefan, when it comes to an interview, 50% of your interview skill is about your tech competency. The next thing that I will tell you is the other 50% is related to your soft skills, communication skills, leadership skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, and all of those other things. Please keep that in the back of your mind. Now, Chris, I know you're going to go to the next question, but there's one here that's so dangerous. That's the worst advice I've ever seen given by the certification providers, and I see Clint there. So before we go to the other ones, in case Clint leaves, let's go to that one first. It's the most critical one here. It's about all the, okay. Clint asked the question, do you need to do all the associate certifications before the SA professional? No, 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 no. And please, I'm begging you, don't do that. Now, this information is perpetuated by certification people that's whole goal is to sell you a bunch of worthless certifications. Clint, we have to determine what career you actually want. For example, if you want to be an architect, do the associate and the professional. That'll give you 10% of the skills you need. Cloud architects don't touch the technology. So if you do the cloud developer and you do the sysops and you do the cloud DevOps and you want to be an architect, guess what? You're not getting hired. And if you do, it's going to drop your salary dramatically. So what that's actually doing is creating a jack of all trades and a master of none. So I want you to think about how dangerous that advice actually is. I mean, I'm sure it's great for the certification providers that want to sell it, but the certification providers need to care. Clint, every day someone says, Mike, can I buy your cloud architect class and your cloud engineer class? And I say, no. If you want to be a cloud architect, buy our cloud architect program. If you want to be our cloud engineer, buy our cloud engineer program, but don't buy both. And the reason I don't want people buying both, it's not because I don't want to do sales, but every minute you're spending focusing on somebody else's career, guess what you're not learning? Your career. Guess what your competition is learning? Your career. And when you go on an interview and you've wasted your time, effort, and money on all these ridiculous certifications, nobody's going to take you seriously and nobody's going to hire you. And you're not even going to know what you know and know what you don't know. So the key is figure out what you want. Now, the Certified Solution Architect Professional is not an architect certification at all. It's really more of an engineering certification. So there's that. But if you want to be a DevOps engineer, go learn software development and do DevOps. It's great. If you want to be the maintenance person, sure, do SysOps certification. Then it's good. If you want to be a software developer, sure, do the cloud developer. But don't waste your time on all of these things. So, Clint, what if I told you the average cloud architect earns $600 a day, and a good one earns $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 a day? And what if it took you 6 months to learn everybody else's job by wasting this time? If the average cloud architect, and not a good one, but an average cloud architect earns $12,000 a month, and you wasted 6 months on these stupid certifications that are not related to your career, guess what? You lost $72,000. So the key, Clint, is to determine what career you want and then match the skills. So I want you to realize how different these careers are. If the cloud architect designs, presents, and sells, we don't do sysops. We don't do DevOps, and we sure don't code. Now, I'm going to give you why it's even worse, Clint. So I've been rehabbing students that have taken all these courses and followed all that dangerous advice to do this. And what happens, they go on interviews and they can't get hired. They can't get hired. And then they come to us and I say to them, I have to remove your sysops, DevOps, and cloud developer certification from your resume. And they're like, but Mike, I worked hard on that. I said, I know. You worked so hard, but it's keeping you from getting the good job. I had a great student, Arun. Arun was a genius. He had all these certifications and he was solid too. He went on interview, and nobody took him seriously. Nobody took him seriously. No one. So I took his class, and we took his resume in class, and I said, Arun, can I get rid of the SysOps, DevOps, and Cloud Developer? And he says, why? I worked hard for these. I said, they're working hard against you. He said, why? I said, because now they make you look like you have no idea what you are. Like if you threw a bunch of mud up in the air and wherever it stick, you landed it. I need you to look focused. And I rebranded him. I got rid of these silly certifications. Poof! He got hired as a cloud architect almost overnight. Now, Clint, I have people like Delroy Batt, one of my great students who became a cloud security architect. He had 0 cloud certifications, 0 of them, 0 of them. And guess what? He got 3 offers as a cloud security architect, and he took one, and it's a great thing. So the key is, Clint, is to figure out the job you want, and then build the portfolio that makes you look good. So if you want to be an architect, you probably should get something in the networking world, because the cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center, and the cloud world, and then focus the rest of your time on something else. So Clint, what career would you like? Would you like to be a cloud architect? Do architecture certifications and networking certifications. Would you like to be a cloud engineer? We'll do the same certification, but learn a different set of skills, coding, Terraform, things like that. But please don't waste your time on a bunch of certifications. Now, why am I so against this? Because every minute you're learning somebody else's job, you know what you're not learning? Your job. So imagine if you want to be the best. And Clint, how do you earn the most money? How do you be the best? You focus on your job. So look at it this way. Ever watched Usain Bolt run? To me, it's magic. He's like the fastest thing I've ever seen. Ever seen Simone Biles do a vault and do all these other things? Wow, that's impressive. Ever seen Michael Phelps swim? Wow, that's impressive. Now imagine, instead of Simone Biles focusing on gymnastics, she decided that, she was going to be a part-time baseball player, and she was going to be a part-time soccer or football player, and then she was going to learn ice hockey. And she spent all of her time doing that. Do you think she'd be Simone Biles, the most decorated gymnast in history? Of course not. She wouldn't be great at anything. So Clint, please focus on your job. I beg you. Don't learn other people's jobs. Focus on your job, because nobody pays you to be good at somebody else's job. They pay you to be good at your job. And that's why I consider this to be the most dangerous certification advice I've ever seen. I'm almost willing to say, if you see a certification bundle from somebody, just run away. You get the degrees that match your career. If you get a degree, you get the certifications that match your career. Keep these in the back of your mind. Train for the job you want. If you want to be an airplane pilot and take off and land, guess what? And fly the plane, you don't learn to be an airline mechanic. You don't learn to be a flight attendant. You want to be a doctor, don't learn to be a nurse. Learn to be a doctor. It's the same thing, Clint. Please, I'm begging you, don't do all these certifications. Find the career you want and learn. Now, Clint, if you tell me the career you want, I'll guide you with the right certifications that will help you get that interview. Now, remember this. Certifications will never get you hired, because certifications are just the name of a service and how to configure those services. And Clint, in most cases, we can't use half of those services because they're proprietary and they're not good enough. They're not enterprise grade. So tell me the career you want, and I'll build you a roadmap right now. But please, I beg you, don't do this. I want you to get cloud hired. I want you to be cloud promoted, and I want you to get paid more than anybody else out there. That's what we do. Good morning, Chigazor, and Stefan, Dallas, Texas. Fantastic. Eric Cohen, thank you, Michael. I'm so happy you're here. Central Illinois, haven't been there in a little while, but always loved it there. You're in Lagos, Nigeria. Fantastic. We got lots of people in Lagos, Nigeria. Rose Singh, do you have any recommendations on gaining knowledge on software application security from a cloud architecture perspective? Raul, software application security is that for software developers and DevSecOps. It's not security. What do I mean by that, Raul? What are we talking about in cloud security? We're talking about zero trust, identity and access management systems, next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, locking down systems, for example, locking down the operating system. What type of host-based firewalls are we using on the systems? What type of anti-malware protection are we using? What kind of encryption strategy? from an architecture perspective? What kind of training are we doing for the personnel that work there? Anti-malware training, anti-social engineering training. What kind of WAN strategy are we using? Are we encrypting our private lines, for example? We're not focused on application security. That's something for other people's careers. So rule, I don't have recommendations for application security knowledge because I'm an architect. I'm a cloud architect. I'm not a developer. So please focus on your job, not somebody else's job. Focus on the big picture things, Raul, not the minutia that nobody cares about, the big picture stuff. Yeah, there's that DevSecOps stuff and code stuff, but that's not cloud architect work at all. That's not even cloud security architect work at all. At all. What we're talking about here is cloud architecture, and I just gave you the list of what those things are. What kind of access control list are you using? What kind of micro segmentation are you using? Are you, for example, using things like to determine 802.1x to make sure the systems that are plugging into the system are authorized to use the system on the way to the cloud? So the key is you're asking cloud architecture, but I don't know right now whether you've been an architect or an engineer, but you're saying a cloud architecture perspective. So I'm assuming you want to be an architecture, but unless you're interested in DevSecOps, which is not a career that I teach, don't focus on this. Don't focus on this. Now, even if you want to be a cloud engineer, this is still not going to be your focus unless you're in DevSecOps or you're an application programmer. So, Raul, what career do you want? You said cloud architecture, so that's why I gave you the cloud architect perspective. If it's a different career, there's that. But if you want to be a cloud architect, here's the thing, Raul. Your business acumen matters. Your leadership skills matter. Your executive presence matters. Your emotional intelligence matters. Your sales perspective matters. Your ability to build an ROI model to show the customer that the cost of the solution is nowhere near as great as the value provided to the organization. Those are the skills you focus on. Those are the skills that will get you hired. If you start focusing on AppSec, which is somebody else's career, you won't have the skills for the real job. So, but please, I'm assuming, and I hate making assumptions, you said you want a cloud architect career because you're saying cloud architecture perspective. Now, if you wanted to be a DevSecOps person, which is a different career, this would be critical, and I'm not a DevSecOps person to guide you on that. I'm an architect. I've been an architect for 25 years. As an engineer for 6 months before that. But really, that's the best way I can guide you. Don't focus on it. Don't focus on it. Focus on the job, not somebody else's. Now, if it's a different career you want, please let me know that. There you said cloud architect. I kind of knew that by the way you wrote it. So we'll focus on architecture, not DevSecOps. And realistically speaking, one of the reasons I love the Cisco Certified Internet Expert when I took it years ago when it was a really hard 2-day exam, and I believe the CCIE is an intro to networking exam, and here's the reason why. When you pass this monstrous thing, and it was monstrous in those days, right after that, people are like, you know something. Now go work on this project and learn. So the CCIE was my intro to networking. And after that, I had 25 years of learning. But why did I love that CCIE so much, Raul? I had to read 75,000 pages on a minutiae area topic, routing and switching. So it was BGP, OSPF, RIP, IGRP, EIGRP, NAT, frame relay WAN technologies, private line WAN technology, Ethernet spanning tree, rapid spanning tree. That was the whole exam. And when IPsec came out, it wasn't on there. It was because that was the security curriculum. Voice over IP wasn't on there either. And because of that, it focused you to learn one little thing and learn it really well. And in those days, it forced all the CCIEs to focus on 10% of the cloud. 10% of the network, which is the cloud too. And they mastered that. And since they weren't focused on learning everybody else's junk, poof. And then Cisco had like 15 CCNPs, which was a good certification. And people would get all 15. And you know what they would know? Nothing about anything, because you can only know a certain amount. The more time you're focused on somebody else's job, the more time you won't know your job. So what do you want to be? Do you want to be a champion like Simone Biles or Usain Bolt? Or do you want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none? And stuck. But if you do that, you won't be an architect. But you'll have other operators, but you won't be an architect. Because the architect needs the business acumen, executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills. Focus on that. Focus on design skills. Focus on the network and data centers, because you're moving stuff in the network and data centers. Focus on your BGP. Focus on your interior gateway protocol knowledge, your IP addressing, your subnetting, your supernetting, route summaries and route aggregation. Focus on your switching, your VLANs, your VLAN tagging, your VLAN trunking, your port channel, ether channel, link aggregation group, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree. Focus on one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. Focus on DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy, ARP, those kind of things. Focus on server virtualization and containers and container orchestration and storage area networks in depth, and not the silly nonsense covered in the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Really get in depth about block storage, object storage, file storage, NFS, server message block file storage. Get good in understanding, how do you build high availability DNS across multiple clouds, not just using what's in the cloud provider. Get used to knowing what kind of database to use and when to use it, and stop thinking about proprietary stuff like DynamoDB or Amazon Aurora, because they don't work in multi-cloud, so you need better options. Focus on next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, zero trust, identity and access management platforms. You'll be a great cloud architect. In fact, because all those same things in the cloud. But don't focus on those kinds of things. That's somebody else's job. Great question, Rolbo. I just want to guide you because I want you, the biggest thing I can do sometimes is showing you the map. Because if you want to go from, say, New York to London on an airplane flight, if you stopped at Jamaica along the way, which is a beautiful place, and then went to the Cayman Islands, which is another beautiful place, and then went to Hawaii, and then got to London, you'd be really tired by the time you got there, but you'd visit some nice places. Join us on Thursday for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect job webinar. Elizabeth James, I like your new article today. Very solid advice. Thank you, Mike. Elizabeth James, the reason I write these articles in magazines, and I've been in DevOps this year, DevOps Magazine and Information Week, and Tech Republic, and Tech Radar, Investors Business Daily, International Business Times, and National TV, that's only because I want the world to know how to get to their goals. Otherwise, I wouldn't let anybody even know my name. Thank you so much for your feedback on the article, on the skills cloud architects need to be hired outside of certifications. I want the world hired, too. I remember when I grew up with very limited means. I was really poor, and that's okay. And I remember when I got my first tech job, how it changed my life. And since then, I've been finding people and training them for years and years and years. And when my students say I'm cloud hired, Mike, and you changed my life, that is the best feeling in the world. And that's why I'm here completely free 3 times per week to guide you on the path. So thank you so much, Elizabeth James. I appreciate it more than you possibly know. Chris, let's go to the next one. Is there a difference between a cloud architect and a solution architect? Yes, but not much. A solution architect only knows one cloud and only sells one cloud. A cloud architect sells a multi-cloud platform. So you're a solution architect if you work for AWS or Cisco or Google or Microsoft. If you work for Deloitte or Accenture, for example, and you're designing a multi-cloud solution, or you're working at a bank where you're designing a multi-cloud solution, you're a cloud architect. So a cloud architect knows how to do a solutions architect job because they've been trained in all clouds. A solution architect only knows one cloud. So you want a good career? Become trained to be a cloud architect, which is why we train that. Now, my students work as solution architects all the time because the solution architect's an easier job to get. But if you're trained to be a cloud architect, you can always work as a solution architect. But if you're a solution architect, you're going to need a lot of training to work as a cloud architect. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Basically the same thing. Great question, though, Robin. Roberts. Chris, you can go to the next one.
And we also I think Eddie put a link to one of your videos about that as well.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure the next question is covered as well, but this one's a little bit deeper probably, since they're not exactly the same.
They're not even close. A cloud architect designs an end-to-end solution on the cloud. A network architect focuses on networking. There's no such thing as a network security architect. There's a security architect who focuses on he or she focuses on the security, the firewalls, the IDS systems, the IPS systems, the VPN concentrators, vulnerability management, operating system vulnerabilities, education and training of the personnel, the security, the overarching security policy for the organization, encryption strategies, remote access user strategies, those kinds of things. A cloud architect designs the whole big thing. So here's the way it'll happen, Robix. I'm a cloud architect. I go meet with the bank and we discuss a $500 million deal. And the thing's going to obviously have security. It's going to have applications in there. It's going to have complicated networking. And I'm going to go back to my team. And this is the reason the business acumen matters. I'm going to go to my manager, who's not going to have the juice to help me with that in terms of power. I'm going to go up to the EVPs, the senior VPs, potentially the CEO, and I'm going to build a business case that says, Mrs. CEO, I need 50 people for the next 6 months. I need 10 security architects, one IAM architect, which is a different career in itself. I need some database people. I need some network architects. And I need some DevOps engineers and cloud engineers. I need all of their advice. And they say, what's the deal? And I say, it's $500 million. And they say, what's the probability of win? And I build the business case based upon an expected value. And I say, 60% probability that we're going to get these $500 million. So they say, okay, the business value to us is $300 million for this proposal. And yes, for a $300 million deal, yes, I will grant you $5 million or $10 million of resources. So it's that. So cloud architect end to end, cloud architect coordinator and the facilitator of all these experts time together to the end solution. Great question there, Robix. The cloud architect's like the team lead. There's a sport in America called football that I've been learning about by my friends. They've been teaching me. They tell me there's somebody called a quarterback that coordinates the team. That's the cloud architect. So Robix, when I used to practice internal medicine, a patient would come to me, and internal medicine is general practice. And when they'd come to me, I'd say, okay, you've got a cardiovascular thing, go see a cardiologist. You have a neurological thing, go there. You got chronic pain, go see the pain specialist. You've got a gastrointestinal, so go them. So the cloud architect is just that. People come to us, we design, present, and sell a solution, and we collaborate with everybody along the way. Great question, Robert. Are the demands on cloud architects jobs and investment firms? I don't know what you mean by that question. Are you asking, is there a demand for them? Or how hard is the work there? I will tell you right now that, Chris, what do we have, 6 or 7 people that recently in the last couple of months that got hired by JP Morgan Chase? Because
yes, and that's just JP Morgan Chase.
And that's just JP Morgan Chase. Obviously, our students are working in a million places like Amazon and Microsoft and Google and Cisco and Deloitte, Accenture, Apple. They're everywhere. But banks require a huge number of cloud architects, a huge number of them. So it's huge demand for them. Big Jerry didn't graduate high school, been working in an agriculture environment, sales for John Deere, didn't like techie stuff like coding. Big Jerry, 23, had a student, Jermaine, he was selling landscaping equipment, really impressive guy, and he got his first cloud architect job. Also, there's a video of Daniel Bosu. He's the person, one of the few people that I've trained. I wish he was my own son. Love the kid. He came to me, he did not graduate high school. He's now working at JP Morgan Chase as a cloud architect. But if you didn't graduate high school, you can still get hired. But you're going to have to be better, and better than the rest. You can't just be regular. You got to be a lot better. Because when you lack paper, you have to be super competent. Because when it really comes down to it, if you're the manager, do you care more about somebody's fluffy degrees and pieces of paper, or do you care, can they do the job? If I'm in battle, do I want a Navy SEAL with me that didn't go to college, or do I want somebody with a PhD that has no concept how to defend me? I want the SEAL. I was a paramedic for years. It doesn't matter. What really matters is how good you are. Look, Big Jerry 23, it will be much harder for you to get a job without a high school diploma. It will be. But it's still possible. It's still possible. But it's going to pertain to how well you speak, how good your communication skills are. Can you walk in and command a room? Can you lead? Well, when you speak to people, can you inspire them and bring out the best in others? And if you can, you may be great. Now, what do we do as architects? We design, present, and sell. I don't care what kind of architect you are. Network architect, enterprise architect, cloud security architect, IAM architect. We're always designing, presenting, and selling a solution. We never touch the technology. Never, never, never. Never. And we do that for the following reasons. That's what we do. We design it, present it, and sell it. So yes, I don't code. I have no idea how to code. I'm an architect. Now, somebody did send me about 20 years ago to learn how to write a bash script and to write an expect script. I got back and they were like, oh my God, I can't believe I sent you to learn to code. We had a massive outage and lost millions of dollars while you were gone. I said, I told you not to send an architect to code. And the person that sent me to code got fired, obviously, because the company had a massive outage and he didn't know that an architect weren't supposed to be coding. But, poof, there was that. So I don't like doing techie stuff either. Now, when I was younger, I did. I loved it. If you're not want to be a hands-on technology professional, you want to be an architect. That's your job. Now, if you want to be a hands-on techie, now we're talking cloud engineer. And that, if you like tech, like one of my best friends, Moses, he loves tech. You walk into his house, he talks, the light changes colors and things. He's looking at a camera on the doorbell. He's getting texted with this thing. He's got music playing in the back room and he touches stuff on his side. It's pretty cool stuff. But I mean, I'd have a headache just thinking about it. But that makes him happy. He loves it, loves it, loves it. And that's really the key. It's that. It determines what career you want. And that's why I say don't get a bunch of million certifications in somebody else's career, because it's training for your job. The most critical skills for the architect, in addition to the tech skills, which are the network and the data center, or designing them, are communication skills, emotional intelligence, executive presence, sales skills, business acumen, leadership capabilities, knowing what to say to the CEO versus a CFO versus a CFO. So, for example, if you were going to sell landscaping or farming equipment to somebody that owned 100,000 hectares of field, that's a much bigger deal than when you're talking about, for example, selling it to a person. So it's learning how to sell on a large scale. But don't let your education define you. And I think it was Mark Twain who said, don't let your training get in the way of your education. And that's what happens when people get 10X certified. They're so busy getting training that they don't get an education. So we don't need to get education from school. But you can read, and you can learn to do reading. And those are one of those kind of things that I highly recommend.
Just going to throw this out here, and he can probably put it in the chat box if he's still here. If he's selling farm equipment, he's selling $1 million pieces of equipment at one time. That stuff is expensive.
Well, I didn't know that, Chris.
Oh yeah, no, I just, again, that's one of those things because I'm from Mississippi, so of course. But yeah, if he's selling farm equipment, then that's the, you're right. Architecture is architect role is, he's used to selling things that require business loans and all the return on investment that we talk about, and the way to capital, all that stuff that you love.
All the stuff that I love, and I'm assuming relationship management is a big part of it, Chris.
Oh, it has to be, because they and again, I just know this because I dealt with it growing up. These people are literally selling tens and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment.
Oh, that's exactly what we do as architects.
Yeah. So again, he if he's still here, he could probably put that in the chat box if that's what he was doing. But when he said John Deere equipment, ag equipment, that's immediately what comes to my mind.
Thank you. And I don't know enough about it. I know there were farms where I grew up. I was really impressed by the people that were farmers. I went to school with some kids that were farmers' children in Bucks County, and they were strong, powerful, with incredible work ethics. I always admired them. They were so strong, though.
Yeah, it amazes me nowadays the amount of business knowledge that's required for farming operations. But anyway, back to the discussion.
Thank you, Chris. See, I love it. We have people from a wide variety of backgrounds, and I think that's necessary in architecture. Why? We all think differently, and when we think differently, we can come up with better things together. Kevin Ho, how do you choose an architect course with live classes? Or not? It's up to you. If you want to come to class and participate in the class and design stuff with us, have me ask you questions in class, put you in a spot in class and interview you in class, do the live one. And if you don't, and you want to watch it, do the non-live one. Now, Kevin Ho, I've got people in Australia, New Zealand, India, Hong Kong, Singapore that are attending my live classes. Now, it's miserable times for them, I admit it, because our class times are designed predominantly for the US, the UK, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, because that's 80% of our students. But we have a lot of students in Asia, and they do really, really, really well. So it's truly up to you. What would you prefer? If you prefer to be in class, and it's going to be uncomfortable times for you over in Taiwan, and Taiwan's beautiful. I love it there. I spent a lot of time there. If you want that, take the live version. But it's going to be uncomfortable times. If you want to just go for the basic version, buy the basic version. That's fine too. And if you buy the basic version and find out you really want to come to class, we can just upgrade you for the cost difference at any one time. So you're not in any challenging position with us. We'll do anything that we actually can to make our students much, much more successful. So keep that in the back of your mind. But I prefer people do the live class whenever possible, not because it costs more by any stretch of the imagination, because it gives me the opportunity for the following. I get called from recruiters and hiring managers and chief information officers constantly. And just this week, I recommended 3 of my students when somebody reached out to me, but I knew them. When I said to AWS, this person is a rock star because they called me, I could do that because I knew them. In my live classes last weekend, some of the students, we were all writing a book on the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional and Certified Solution Architect Associate, the next courses, which made them all published authors in about a month or two when the book was published. So keep that in the back of your mind that in live classes, there's extra benefits that are beyond just the education. But you could attend some of the live classes and watch some of them, for example, might work for you. But really what it's really about is choosing something that's for you. I don't really care about anything other than you getting cloud hired. You can get cloud hired with either of our programs. They'll both work for you. But Kevin, live training is better because I'm going to put you on the spot in class. Last week, I created a stressful environment and interviewed my students under stress. Why would I interview my students under stress? Well, in a real interview, you're going to be stressed. So I was training them the way we would practice. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I'm a martial artist by nature. And in martial arts, it's one thing to do a kata, for example. I know that's Japanese, you're from China, or Taiwan, I should say. But so in martial arts, kind of keep that. They're very different. But when you practice in a relaxed environment, any kind of link or anything like that, relax. And then when you're stressed, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level we were training. So those are the kind of things we can do live. But even if you're not live, you can practice and do the same thing on your own following our training. You're still going to be successful. Kev and I would love to train you. Any way you want to be trained, I don't care. As long as you get hired in the end. And if you follow our training, when you're done the training, and you send me a cloud hired message, and I can celebrate it, and Chris can celebrate it, Alonzo can celebrate it, and Chow and Leo and Tracy can celebrate it, and Manuela and all of us can trace it, and Anselm, my EA can trace it, can celebrate it. That's all that matters to us, that you get cloud hired. I'm obsessed with my students getting cloud hired. I'd love to get you cloud hired too. Happy to answer more questions on this. What is an architect level 1, level 2? It's a nonsense term made up by a company. It means nothing. Most cloud architect jobs are permanent jobs, 90% of them. There are temporary ones, but it's more a permanent job. So you work at AWS, you design somebody's architecture, it's done. Then you design another customer's architecture, it's done. You go to the next customer. They're usually full-time positions. Every job can be full-time or contract, but if it's your first job, chances are it's going to be full-time. Contract jobs are for somebody like me. Hey, Mike, do you want to take this 3-month contract that pays $200,000 to design this thing? That's a contract job. But generally speaking, for experts like me, short-term, super high pay. And with that, you've got to have the risk of running your own business and attracting contracts. Don't recommend that for newbies. Let's go to the next one, Chris. Victor, hi, Mike. You just enrolled for the Cloud Architect Career Development. Congratulations and welcome. How do you get access to the live classes and which are the live classes? So Victor, you received an email at the moment you signed up. Welcome to Go Cloud Careers. Please read that email. I'm begging you, please read that email. If you don't read that email, you will be lost. And then read that email and start with lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, all the way to lesson as many as we have. So they are exactly in that email. Please read that email. And in that email, it gave you an invite to the Slack access. And in Slack access, guess what? It was posted in the Cloud Architect Career Development what time the class. The class today is at 1 p.m. So please read that email. All that information is contained in that email. If you did not get the email, please send an email to info@gocloudcareers.net and we will resend you the email, but please read that email. And also, while we're at it, Victor, please read all the written communications we send you, because if you don't, you will be lost. I'm only saying this because you're asking the question, and if you didn't read the email, I don't want you to be lost. Please read the email. And you're going to have a great time. And wait till you see next Friday's class. I've got a special class planned next Friday, and it's really, really, really going to help you. So there's basically what it'll say on the email that you were sent. Links and times to the introduction session are in the lesson, joining the live classes of the training protocol. So please, please, please read that email. When you read that email, it'll send you to a place where it will say specifically, links and times are in the introduction section in the lesson, joining the Cloud Architect classes. So please go and find that, which is, of course, in the email, and you'll be good to go. I'll see you in class today at 1 p.m., and I can't wait to meet you, Victor. I can't wait to meet you, and I really can't wait to do a cloud hire in about 8 months from now. Can't wait. It's the most exciting thing we can talk about. Raj Official. Hey, which cloud provider to choose? Does it really matter? Okay, Raj. Let's talk about the cloud versus any of those. Raj, I'm an architect, right? I don't know which career you want, but I'm an architect. If I design a building, I might need bricks, right? Does it matter where I buy the bricks from? I can buy them at ABC Brick Store, Home Depot Brick Store, Lowe's Brick Store, Ace Brick Store, Charlie's Brick Store. Raj, all the clouds are the same. They're the same thing. It's a data center and a network that's been virtualized. So you want to create a virtual machine in AWS? They made up a silly name called an EC2 instance. Want to do it in Google? They made up a silly name called Compute Engine instance. When they build it in Azure, they call it an Azure virtual machine. When they do an Oracle, they call it a virtual machine. You go to the data center, it's a VMware virtual machine or a KVM virtual machine or an ESXi. So learn the cloud, not any one of the cloud providers. So Raj, if I were to teach you how to drive a car and you learned this is a steering wheel, this is the accelerator, and this is the brake, you could figure that out, right? Now, if you studied certifications instead of learning the underlying technology, and AWS called this an elastic angular directional changer. And then Microsoft called it an interactive vector modifier. And Google called it a cloud-based angular thingamabobby. You'd be lost. So don't learn any cloud, learn the cloud. What is the cloud? It's a network and a data center. What are the technologies that are in the cloud? Well, they are BGP. They're interior gateway protocols. They're IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting. Route summaries and route aggregation. They're NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. They include switching, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation groups. WAN technologies such as VPNs, SSL VPNs, IPsec VPNs, private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking SASE, DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP, all those kind of things on the cloud. It includes virtual machines and containers and container orchestration, and storage area networks, block storage, object storage, file storage. And don't believe any of the nonsense taught to you in your certification. Block storage is pathetically slow, and we have to work around that as engineers and architects every day of the week, the performance problems with it. So you got to learn what that really means in reality. When we're done that, we're talking about databases, no SQL databases or relational databases. And again, not the proprietary stuff that's taught in a certification. Although an Oracle database we will typically use across multi-cloud, not serverless, but a real Oracle database hosted on a virtual machine. No SQL databases. It'll be load balancers, network load balancers, application load balancers. It'll be next generation firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems. ERP applications, CRM applications, unified communications applications, three-tier websites, and so many more things in microservices. That's the job. It has no bearing on you're certified. Look, Delray Back got hired recently, and he had 0 certifications whatsoever. And he got 3 offers, and he didn't even apply to them because he did our branding work. We had Bob Welch that just got an incredible cloud security architect job, and he had a cloud practitioner, which is a nothing certification. But he had was competency. So it has nothing to do with what you're certified in. You don't need any certifications. So no, it won't affect. No, Raj, I'm going to tell you this. There's nothing in that Oracle certification that's anything that you need to know other than configuring. So if you wanted to be a cloud architect, you need to learn how to design, present, and sell, not covered in any certification. Now, if you wanted to be a cloud engineer, all the stuff that's covered in that certification has nothing to do with what you need to do for the job either. You will need to understand Terraform, which is, or infrastructure as code for the cloud engineer. The cloud engineer will need to know Python. The cloud engineer will need to learn how to bash script, potentially a PowerShell script. The cloud engineer will need to know all the networking things that they're going to be doing. The cloud engineer is going to need to be a master of Linux, practically the level of a Linux engineer. And the cloud engineer will need to master the command lines on any code because that management console is just too cumbersome. So it's never about your certifications. You don't need any certification. Nobody cares about your certifications other than certification providers and unemployed people that think their certifications are going to help them. I speak to managers every day of the week, and they're like, Mike, I don't want paper certifications. I want competency. I speak to them every day. And they all say, Mike, I don't care about certifications now. 20 years ago, they did. 20 years ago, they did. And yes, they were helpful then. Why? Because right now, you can pass any certification in the world in weeks. You know why? There's all these companies that harass me every single day. Do you want a certification? I'll have somebody take the certification for you. I'm like, no, go away. Here's a link to a practice test that'll 99.6% guarantee you'll pass. Why? Because they're selling you the exam. That's what one of the reasons certifications lost their meaning. Why else did certifications lose their meaning? Because they had people that had no idea the technology, never had these jobs, get themselves 10x certified and started teaching their courses on Udemy and other funny platforms. And when you get 10x certification, you don't even know what you don't know. Why? Because if I told you that you could spend 50 years on just learning networking and still learn. In fact, I bet you it could take you 500 years to truly master networking. Why? Because it'll take 50 years to master a routing career and another 20 years to master a wireless career and another 10 years to master a switching career and another 10 years to master network security and all these other things. So you can spend lifetimes in this. So focus on becoming great at what you want. Now, if you tell me which job you want, I can build you the path to get there. But don't worry about your certifications. Your certifications are just the name of the service and how to configure that. Some certifications may help you get an interview, but they'll never get you hired in today's world. It's all about, do you have the skills, the competency? Can they trust you? Do they like you? Raj, you know what hiring managers care about? I'm going to tell you right now. First one, can you do the job? Number 2, can they trust you? Number 3, do you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know? So you don't make a mistake like the way they took down the Google Cloud with a BGP error, or Facebook was taken down by a BGP error. They want to know, are you energetic, enthusiastic, passionate, or do you need a nap and you complain that it's too hard to work? They want to know that you're not a negative Nelly, that you're a positive person that's going to raise the energy of the room. They want to know that you are a team player, and they want to know you're going to go above and beyond. That's what they want. Be those things, you'll get any job you want. Focus on certifications, not going to help you. Not your focus. Not your focus. They do like certifications to help you get an interview. They help with that. But it's all the other stuff that gets you hired. Kind of like a degree. It can help you get an interview, but nobody's going to hire you because you've got a degree. They're going to hire you because you're capable. Focus on the big picture and you'll be good to go. And yes, you can work in any cloud you want. It has nothing to do with your certifications. It has everything to do with your knowledge. And focus on those things I told you, and you'll have knowledge if you want to be an architect. Although those skills are necessary for the architect and the engineer as well. What's the best path for cloud engineers? Well, the cloud engineer really needs to master Linux to the level of a Linux engineer practically. Why? Because 95% of all major servers run on Linux in today's world. Cloud engineers, so they're going to be administering and configuring Linux like to the level of a Linux engineer. Now that cloud engineer is going to need to automate a lot of stuff. And if you have to automate, it means Python scripting, it means bash shell scripting. Now, when it comes to actually deployment stuff, meaning the configuration, the setup, you could sit there and clicking boxes in a management console all day and get nothing done while you're waiting for the thing to click, 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 click. Or you can be trained in Terraform, infrastructure as code. And the reason it's all Terraform is everybody's multi-cloud now, so CloudFormation is dead as far as I'm concerned. But Terraform will deploy it across your Nutanix cloud, your OpenStack cloud, your AWS cloud, your Oracle cloud, your Oracle cloud, your Google cloud. And they're instantly there. So you must learn Terraform. Now, Cruz, if you don't know the network and the data center, you will never know the cloud. So the same list that I give everybody of all the skills that you need to learn, that I just give for the architect, everything from BGP to IP addressing to NAT to the storage environments, you need to master those things. Now, Cruz, there's two ways you can have a cloud engineering career. You can be the Coke bottle thick glass person that then codes on the day and doesn't talk to people, and that is possible, but that's going to be the lowest paid job you've ever imagined in your life. Or you can work on your personality, your executive presence, your communication skills, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your business acumen, and get really good engineering jobs and be respected and treated really, really well and paid a lot more. So it's up to you. The best path of the engineer is to balance your attitude, your personality, your communication skills, your leadership skills with your tech skills, and really, really be a complete person. Because you know what hiring managers say to me, Mike? They're like, Mike, I need an engineer, but I don't want a robot. I'm like, what's a robot? Like someone that won't talk to people. I don't want that. I have enough of them. I want somebody that raises the energy in the room, that smiles, that talks to people, that likes what they do. So the best path to be a cloud engineer is to master those things and get there. But you got to know the network and the data center. So for all these careers, BGP, it's interior gateway protocols such as OSPF. It's the WAN technologies that I use. It's the networking things, whether they be switching or spanning tree or rapid spanning tree or VLANs or tagging or trunking and port channels and ether channels. It's one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. And I'll be releasing a video on that coming soon, so subscribe to the channel. It'll be on DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy op, and servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestration and block storage, object storage, file storage, network load balancers, application load balancers, database management and administration for the engineer. Understanding of next generation firewalls and IDS IPS systems and VPN concentrators. Understanding about how to harden a system, for example, like, which services do you disable? How do you install host-based firewalls? And of course, all those other Terraform, Linux skills, Python skills, Bash shell scripting skills, and hands-on for the engineer. Architects don't touch the tech, so they're not hands-on. Engineers are tech. So you got to master the tech, but please master the communication skills. And not only will you get cloud hired, you'll earn so much more than everybody else. Great question, Cruz Martinez. Thank you for asking it. Robix, if you join the online classes, will understand the content? I don't know what you mean by that. Or I have to first read the recorded sessions. Robix, the whole point of coming to live classes is so we can teach you. You'll have to do everything. You can't know everything at the beginning, and I promise you won't. I also promise you're going to be lost for the first month, especially if you don't have a lot of background or experience, and that's okay. I'm going to tell you one thing. I was not born learning how to practice medicine. I went to school for it. I was not born an enterprise architect. No, I was not born a network architect, and I was not born a cloud architect. I needed training for it. Guess what? People are not born knowing how to fly airplanes either. They get training for it. So you'll have to come to class. You'll come to class and you'll learn. You'll watch the videos in the class and you'll learn. You'll do the required reading in the class and you'll learn. You'll do the labs in the course and you'll learn. It's a process. You got to follow the path. So you're going to have to follow the path. You'll receive a welcome email with the path. It'll be lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. Oh, by the way, join classes too. They all go together. It's like college. You don't take one class at a time in college. You take 5 of them. Each course helps the other ones to give you a more complete education. You will do them all simultaneously. And no, there's going to be some things that you don't understand and some things that you have to learn. And that's the whole point of learning. I assume you know nothing when you come to me. And you know what? When the people come to us that are multi-certified, they know nothing. and they have to be complete. They have to learn how to forget all the certification things and read it. But you can't know everything in the beginning. Nobody's born knowing anything. Humans know nothing without education. A human baby will die within 3 days of birth if it's not taken care of by somebody. They need to be taught everything: how to sit, how to stand, how to walk, how to talk. It's education. That's the whole point of education, because we know. Guess what? Nothing is born in us. We have to learn it. So you will follow the plan exactly as prescribed and be successful. And you'll receive a welcome email the second you sign up, and it's going to give you access to the plan. Exactly access. My advice would be follow the path, and you'll be good. Aziz, hi Mike, how can you become good at AWS Cloud? Aziz, it's not becoming good at the AWS Cloud, it's becoming good at the cloud. You have to learn the technologies that enable the cloud. So let's put it into context, Aziz. If you only learn to configure, you only learn how to configure. So Aziz, what would you like to do in the AWS Cloud? Because you're asking a question that's just too big. Do you want a software engineer on the cloud? That's one path. Do you want to be a security architect on the career path? That's another path. Do you want to be a cloud architect? That's another path. Do you want to be a DevOps engineer? That's another path. See, the cloud includes hundreds of people's careers. So would you tell me what you have an interest in? Do you want to design, present, and sell a solution? I'll give you some information there. Do you want to code and configure? But I need to know the job. I have a really good friend named Suleimana, by the way. I know it's a common name. Role saying, hi, Mike, you're aiming for cloud security architect career. Wonderful career, Robo. Wonderful. I've been training lots of them. Thank you for your answer. I'm thrilled to answer. I want you to have the best cloud computing career. Hakeem, hi, Mike. Yesterday's Zoom class was amazing. Thank you. I also need to be the co-author of the upcoming book. That's okay, Hakeem. We're going to be writing another book very shortly. I would love you to participate in it. If you weren't part of the Google book, which we're going to be releasing, and you weren't part of this last AWS book, I got another book, and we're going to have fun with it coming very soon. What certifications do you need to get cloud hired? There is no certification that's going to get you cloud hired. What you need is competency and the skills. So think of certification as the name of the service and how to configure that service. Think of a cloud architect as a business executive that designs, presents, and sells. So there's no part in any certification that teaches you how to, unfortunately, do cloud architect work. Architects, and why? So let's take a doctor who's basically the same job as an architect. If you didn't teach the doctor how to diagnose, you didn't teach them anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, which is the studies of disease, pharmacology, which is the study of medicine, and all you taught them was how to give injections and draw blood. When someone would come into the office and they'd say, I'm sick, the doctor would say, here, I can draw blood. Now, they wouldn't be able to do anything with it. And what would they do with the blood draw? They would never know. And if labs came back, they wouldn't even know how to read them. So that's why it doesn't matter. So Chigazor, you need to understand the underlying network, the underlying data center, how to design, how to present, and how to sell. No certifications. It's not about certification. I wish there was a certification that would get somebody a job. I really wish I would. I wish there was. I wish I could just point you to a certification. But there really is nothing. These two certifications would get you halfway there. If you did the Cisco Certified Internet Expert, which I'm going to tell you is going to cost you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do, and you're going to read about 50,000 pages to do it, and you combine that with the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, and because that would teach you those network, data center, and cloud skills. Those two would. But if you combine that with sales training and leadership training and executive presence training and CXO relevancy training and emotional intelligence training and negotiation training, you'd probably get there. But the key is those other training things cost a lot more than the CCI, which is why I created my program. So focus on the business, on developing your communication skills. It really matters. Your leadership skills, your sales skills. Learn those network and data center skills and design skills. Cloud EPMS. What specific role does a cloud security architect play in the team? Is it design, present, and sell? Of course it is. All architects design, present, and sell. They never touch the technology. So here's the thing. I'm a cloud architect, right? And I go meet with a customer. And I have to design this end-to-end thing. It includes application development, which architects don't do. And for example, and the next thing that they would have would be they would design the plan for the organization security policy. They would design the plan for the VPNs, remote access, the next generation firewalls, the intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system. They'd be designing the zero trust environment. They'd be working with the identity and access management people to come up with an authentication, authorization, and accounting system for the enterprise. They would be coming up with, a policy and a plan for how to lock down the systems and what kind of anti-malware systems are used. And they design, present, and sell just the security component of it. See, the cloud architect is this generic position, and once we figure out what the requirements are, we say, hey, cloud security person, architect person, you do this. The cloud security architect designs, presents, and sells just security solutions. Just security solutions. Now, realistically speaking, cloud EPMS, the cloud security architect is not a cloud anything. It's a security architect. It's the identical job they would do in the data center that they do in the cloud. The only difference is, I hate saying this, the cloud is a little bit less secure than the old traditional data center. Now, if you've got a bad data center, the cloud's more secure. But the problem is, if I properly secure my data center, I'm a data center. Now, the cloud, by definition, is the highest value target in the world. Compromise Azure leak was done last year. You get access to thousands of their clients' information. When Cosmos DB was hacked about a year ago. So who's a higher value target? Hack the cloud and get access to their thousands or millions of customers, or access a single person? So on the cloud, you've got some new attack vectors that you don't normally have. The cloud can get hacked, the control plane of the cloud can get hacked, and there's those kind of things as well. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Robert, thanks a lot, Mike, for your kind answers. You're more than welcome. Anakin, I have a friend that wants to go into software development. Do I have anything to offer them to help them with their career goals? Anakin, I try not to work on software development skills. And here's the reason why. I think software development is the most risky and dangerous career for people to go into in the US, the UK, Australia, Canada, and these places. And here's the reason why. But I think software development is wonderful for people in other parts of the world. Now, I focus on careers that pay the most, that have the most career opportunities, and I teach what I know. I am not a software engineer at ever. I will tell you this. I have taken software engineers and given them training on leadership, the kind of training that's in our Tech Career Accelerator program, and they've gotten hired much better, they've learned to communicate much better, and they've developed some business skills which can almost double their salary. So I have that for them. But I don't focus on software engineering for the following reason is I'm not a software engineer. And Anakin, I'm not like a certification provider. I'm not going to take a certification like a cloud developer and start building a course around something I have no idea. I'm not a certification provider. I only care about my students getting hired. And what do I know? I know engineering because I used to be an engineer. And I hired a bunch of engineers to help me with the engineering program, to be fair. I know cloud architecture. I've been a network architect, enterprise architect, cloud architect for decades. And I know how to build people's leadership careers, so that's what we teach. At some point in the future, we might hire a bunch of excellent software developers and do a software development career thing, but it's not a career that I can competently teach. I'm not about selling and making a lot of money. I'm about getting my students cloud hired, cloud promoted, and paid more. And I can't teach when I'm not an expert on it. It doesn't feel fair to my students. It matters that our students do well. Every cloud hired matters to me. And I can't guarantee with anything because I can't guarantee that students will actually do the work. And believe me, they don't always do the work. But those that do get hired. But my point is I can't teach what I don't know. It's not fair to the student base. It's not about the money for us. Marcus R., good morning, Go Cloud Community. It's good to see you. John Daniel, good morning. Does a cloud architect usually work in an architecture department? Yeah, they work in an architecture department. Not an engineering department, an architecture department, and they're usually part of a sales team somewhere along the line. They're part of the sales organization in most cases. Except when they're post-sales, but they're still going to be designing, presenting, and selling. Even if you're working in an organization like a bank, what are you doing? You're going to go to the CEO and figure out what their goals are. You're going to go to the department heads and executive team and figure out what their pain points are. Then you're going to go to the techies and figure out what they have if you're post-sales. And then after post-sales, guess what? Then you're going to have to present it back to the executive team, create a budget in the executive team, and sell it to them, convince them that spending the money on your design is better than spending their money somewhere else, because you can only spend your money in one place. It's called opportunity cost. And they're there. So architects always design, present, and sell. That's all we do. And sometimes we work in an architecture department. Like, for example, if you work in a bank, you might be in an architecture department. But if you work for a cloud provider, you're typically in the sales organization. That's why you get paid so much. Anakin, let's say you get hired as a cloud architect or a bank or some other place. After you design and sell the architecture, what do? You work on the next architecture, Anakin. So businesses constantly change. As soon as you design an architecture to solve one problem, you got to go solve the next problem. So business is a fluid dynamics, Anakin. So let's say right now there's an architecture that's involved in optimizing the WAN, the wide area network. A month later, there's going to be some new thing that needs to be done. Maybe there's some new algorithmic-based trading application that needs super high performance compute, low latency, and you're going to be focused on the underlying infrastructure for that. And that's really where we're going to. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. It's always design and present and sell. And with every architecture, there's always another project. Because it's kind of like being the CEO of a bank. Oh, good. We hit our earnings for this quarter. Now the next quarter, what do we do? So all organizations are constantly looking for their next competitive advantage. If you work on an architecture, you go to the next architecture, you go to the next architecture. It never stops, Anakin. It's not like you just build it once and it's gone. And, it's constantly improving model. You design it, build it, and sell it, and it's working. Well, this didn't work as good, so let's tune this, let's optimize this. There's always a process. There's going to be a new rule or regulation that's going to be out there. There's going to be a new competitor that's doing something that you got to compete on. There's going to be a new opportunity to make some money. Oh, maybe it's crypto, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So you're constantly going to be chasing the next dollar, either to make the business more money or to cut their expenses so they can make more money. It's always constantly in flux. So never, never, never stop designing. Never. Because, when it comes to business, there's short-term plans, medium-term plans, long-term plans. And then there's that. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. That's what we do. Next architecture. Great question, Anakin. Great question. What's the best book you recommend for sales skills? There's no book that I recommend for sales skills. I recommend you learn how to sell, take some sales training, learn how to present it, learn how to build the business case, and find out that you got rejected. Train it again, train it again, train it again, train it again, train it again. Look, I've read 1 million sales books and they all help, but not that much. This is one of those things where you got to practice it in an audience that can guide you. No sales book teaches you executive presence. No sales book teaches you how to sell to the CEO. No sales book trains your ability to do ROI modeling. The robotics, it's not about a book, it's about training from the right people. There's 1 million books. But you got to work on your charisma. Can't teach that in the book. Got to talk about the communications. I have this product for you to buy. I have this product that can make a 30% impact in your organization's revenue with executive presence and meaningful point. It's that. It's figuring out how to read the leader and say, are they an intuitive leader, a functional leader, or analytical leader? And how do I translate the language to that? You can't pull that in a book. That's why we have to teach it. It's determining when you walk in the room, looking at the room and reading the room, which we teach. Are they visual, auditory, and kinesthetic? And how do you speak to them in that language? When you walk in that room, what do you see on the wall? What's going on? What are industry analysts saying about that organization? What has the organization tried before? What are the interesting things to that person? What are their interests? What's your relationship with them? How many times have you taken that customer to dinner, playing golf, taken them out for dinners and drinks? That stuff, not in books. I recommend training. Personally, I took thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars of sales training because every architect needs to. The reality is, to actually get pure architecture training to be good at it would cost you at least $50,000. And because I don't need to work, Rob X, I'm retired, totally retired, and don't need to work. That's why I took a course that, literally speaking, would cost that much and charge basically a single day's pay for the average cloud architect because I want the world hired. I charge the least I possibly can to make our course work and employ my staff and make sure the company can grow and continue to do whatever it needs to serve the people and get the world cloud hired. I wish there was a good book on sales skills. I read lots of them. Just wasn't something I could learn from a book. By the way, I know you are a very busy man teaching classes and live YouTube streams, but have you got a chance to watch the movie Call? There are a lot of executive CEOs and meetings in it. I think so. I'm pretty sure Margin Call was the movie about the doctor. I kind of lived through Margin Call because I was a real estate investor, and I started to see the same things. I started to see funny mortgages and interest-only mortgages and variable rate mortgages. And I started to see when you'd go to the restaurant, the food servers were talking about buying real estate. And I said, time to sell all those extra properties before the place crashes. So I haven't had a chance to watch it again because I think you asked me the other day. And I'm pretty sure that's the movie you're talking about. But I haven't had a chance to watch TV in 4 or 5 days. And hopefully I get to be able to watch some soon. Maybe on Sunday I'll have a chance. Big Jerry, that's exactly your life risk. Sounds like architect is something you should look into more. I think that is the exact best that you possibly should do. Oh, wait. Yes, Anakin, I did see the movie Margin Call. I remember. You reminded me. The Big Short, Margin Call is the one with the banks. Yes, I totally remember it. It was very accurate. Patricia 1. Which one would give you more career opportunities, infrastructure or general architect? Is infrastructure the same as network architecture? Pretty much it is. So Patricia Young, there's really 3 ways to optimize your career. One is focusing on a tech. And I'll tell you right now, you'd learn more as a cloud infrastructure architect, for example, than you would as a generic cloud architect. Why? Because it's a specialist and it's much harder. And the more specialized you are, the more you earn. So here's your 3 opportunities to maximize your career. I'm going to give you the best ways. And so the first option is tech. That will help you, Patricia Young, but not a lot. And here's the reason why. If your focus is on the tech, for example, you're never going to be earning the most. But you can do better as a cloud infrastructure architect as a role than a cloud architect. I'm a cloud infrastructure architect by every stretch of the matter. So that's option 2. The next way to optimize your career, which will give you much more options than focusing on a tech specialization, is to focus on an industry. So Patricia, focus on cloud architectures for banking, cloud architectures for healthcare, cloud architectures for transport, cloud architectures for consumer products and retail. And why? When you become an expert on an industry and you meet with the customer, your value increases dramatically because now you're in the position to offer specialized solutions to help that business. So for example, Patricia, I worked as a healthcare enterprise architect for a while. It was really great, right? I worked there for Cisco as the lead healthcare architect, and it was really great. I go to a customer, and they'd say, "Hi, Mike," and they'd say, "Oh, wow, you're a nurse practitioner and a nurse. You know what nurses do and doctors do? Let's talk." And I was very there. Now, the next way to optimize your career is to focus on your executive skills. Really maximize your business acumen, leadership skills, sales skills, executive presence, and all those things. That will yield the highest return on investments and salaries if you focus on the business piece. So Patricia, realistically speaking, I want you to think about it. The whole point of an architect is to transform. So if you've got more technical knowledge, sure, you're worth a little more. If you've got industry knowledge and let's say you worked in banking for 10 years and then you want to design systems for banks, you can help that bank a lot more. But the highest salaries go to the people that are truly focused on digital transformation. So the more you focus on your business and your presence and your leadership and your communication skills, that can yield the highest salaries. In fact, once we start getting into architecture salaries over 250, 350, 450, 500, we're always dealing with people that are purely focused on the business at that level. And you can see them all. We go in our Armani or Canali suits. We talk to the customer. We take them to lunches and dinners and drinks. We play golf with them. We get to know their families. We get to know their business. And then we go to industry contacts instead of designing it. So let's say I'm designing a system for a bank. At my level, I'm not going to think that I'm going to be doing it myself. I need some security in there, so I'm going to have my security architects come in. I'm going to go Cisco Cloud Security Architects, Palo Alto's Cloud Security Architects, Fortinet's Cloud Security Architect, and Checkpoint's for Cloud Security Architects, and they're going to come in and give me their recommendations. Now, when I need to deal with some operating system stuff or scalability, I'm going to call Red Hat and Microsoft and those kinds of things. When I need networking stuff, we're going to be calling Cisco. We're going to be talking to Aviatrix and things like that. So once you get to that level, which is where I live, you're letting the other industry experts design stuff and you're coordinating and managing the response. That's the best place to get to your career. So level 1, focus on a specific tech set. Level 2, focus on an industry. Level 3, really become a true executive. And then you'll be there. Do I think an MBA in the future will be valued for a cloud architect? Yes. Patricia, yes, you can get hired without an MBA and you will do great without an MBA. But Patricia, that is the best certification for the cloud architect if you come to call it a certification, the MBA, because it teaches a lot of those things that I'm talking about. Now, it doesn't teach the executive communication skills. It doesn't really teach the emotional intelligence or the finesse. It doesn't teach you how to write like an executive. In an MBA program, I remember when I did mine, write a 40-page paper on this. And then I got out there and it was like, whoa, take that 40-page paper and drop it to a 2-page paper with the 40 pages of content. But yes, an MBA, Patricia, would be wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So while other people are focused on certifications, you focus on that MBA. It will help you dramatically, and I strongly, strongly recommend it. And on that last architect that I talked about that earns the most money, the MBA is your rubber stamp to be partially there. So you get that, and then you get the training that I'm talking about, and then you're going to do great. Love the MBA, love the MBA, love the MBA, highly recommend it. How much does it matter to me? Well, 3 members of my team have one. I have one. Chris has one. He's my chief operating officer. Alonzo, my chief of content. I even have Ansem, and Ansem's got a master's degree in economics and is a part-time economics professor. Why? I want to make sure my students get the best business acumen they need, because unless you have that background, you're not in a position to teach it. So I love it, Patricia. Yes, do it. Wonderful thing for you to do. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Great questions, and I'm so glad you asked them. Robix, does a cloud architect with project managers? Yes. Or sales? Yes. So we work with project managers. We're not going to be building the plan that's going to deploy the whole thing. There's a project manager for that. We're also going to work with sales reps to help sell it. We are a team player. This is a whole team. That we don't monitor the delivery. Never. So I design it. I'm an architect. I design it. So let's say I design something for a customer in New York City. A week later, I'm working on a customer in Dubai, and I can't be monitoring the deployment. So I design it, and I'm done. Get a nice big fat commission check. It's really great. Part of my bonus. Next, I hand it off to a build team. The build team is going to have a service delivery executive that's going to manage the customer relationship while things are going to be deployed and manage the deployment team. There's going to be a project manager that makes sure the tasks are done on time. And then there's going to be the workers, which are the engineers. And the cloud engineers and dev engineers are going to build it. And why can't we do it? I'm going to be in Dubai next, or New Zealand, or Australia, or Brisbane, or South Africa and Cape Town. I'm going to be somewhere else. You can't be in 2 places at once. So all we do, Robix, is design, present, and sell. There's nothing else that's part of our job. When I ask my students that are now working as managers, they're like 50% of my time is in meetings. And 30% of my time is entertaining clients, buying them lunches, dinners, and drinks on the corporate credit card. And they say, Mike, why'd you teach me all this tech? You taught me so much tech. And I said, you had to pass the interview now, right? And they said, yeah. I said, got it. Realistically speaking, it's an executive position. Design it, present it, sell it. Go move on to the next person. Design it, present it, and sell it. Go to the next one. Design it, present it, and sell it. Robix, what's your advice to remember all the knowledge? Your issue is that you understand the topics and courses, but have difficulties to communicate them. Robix, that's because you don't understand them. When you truly understand them at the fundamental level, you'll be able to communicate it. And here's the difference. Here's the difference in these careers. You have to learn it well. Now, if you don't know it, you can't communicate it. So Albert Einstein said it, and I can tell you right now, you'll be able to tell if your trainer or certification provider knows anything. And when you watch something, what you hear is, you see PowerPoint slides and you're blah, 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 blah. And that's what I see when I watch any of the certification providers' courses. You know, they don't understand it. As Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't know well enough. And when I was in college, I couldn't understand half of what the professors were teaching at one school. And then I went to something called the Teachers College. I didn't really know what they meant by that until somebody else explained it to me, an educator, where I had professors that actually worked in the industry that were teaching us. Wow, I understood them. They spoke in plain language because they knew it and they knew it well. They didn't just get a PhD in something that they had no idea, no hands-on experience, no practical knowledge. So there's that. So you will learn it. And when you properly learn it, you'll have no problem remembering it. For example, I haven't touched OSPF in 10 years, but I can still tell you there's a type 1 LSA that's generated by the router. There's a type 2 LSA that's generated by the designated router. There's a type 3 LSA that's a summary LSA in between areas in OSPF. There's a type 4 that relates to the autonomous system border router, which is a router that connects you to something else from an external domain. There's a type 5 LSA that's related to external routes. Now, I know you're not going to understand that unless you're a network engineer or a network architect, but the point was, how do I remember that? Because I had to learn it for real. It had to become part of me. So Robix, I used to learn how to practice medicine. 5 years ago, I learned how to practice medicine. And part of learning how to practice medicine is learning how the body works. How the body works. So if I were to tell you right now, and it's been 25 years since I've had this conversation with somebody, the deoxygenated blood comes into the heart through the pulmonary arteries, and it enters the right atrium of the heart. I'm sorry, deoxygenated blood comes in from the, deoxygenated blood comes into the right atrium of the heart, which then goes to the right ventricle. That goes into the pulmonary veins that then gets oxygenated. And then from there, and I could keep going, but the point is, it's fundamentals. And when your fundamentals are strong, you can remember it. So like Bruce Lee said, and this is why I don't want people getting 1,000 certifications, because you're never going to remember it. Bruce Lee said, I fear the man that practiced one kick 10,000 times because they're going to be good at it, but I don't fear the man that practiced 10,000 kicks once. Focus, 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 and then you're going to be great. Quick Strike 21. Hey, Mike, if you joined the program now, will I miss stuff? Of course not. So here's the way it works. Quick Strike 21, I intentionally have no batches ever for the following reason. I give you up to a year in the course. So when someone signs up to my course, they get a welcome to Go Cloud Careers email. And they get a lesson plan. Start with lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, lesson 5, lesson 6, all on your own. They get access to the last 100 classes or so they can follow them along. And they have their own plan. The first thing, tell me about yourself, tell us what your goals, build your plan, we'll help you with your plan. Now, next you come to class, and we have 3 classes per week. 2 of the classes are related to architectures. One's related to leadership, soft skills, communication skills, those kinds of things. So this week we worked on some fairly complicated network architectures related to huge cloud computing environments for a massive organization. Next week, I don't know, maybe we'll do a retail organization, okay? The week after that, we'll do a bank. The week after that, we'll do like a social media organization. The week after that, we'll do this. And we rotate the architectures Quick Strike 21. So everyone Everyone gets an answer for everything, so nobody misses anything. Now, the reason I don't do batches is intentional. If I do batches, here will be the process. You pay me, everybody does the same thing in the same order. 16 weeks are over, you're kicked out, whether you're hired or not hired. That's what our competition does, and they charge a lot more. For me, that's not good enough. Unless you're getting hired, I'm not happy. So I let you join whenever. You can watch all the L classes if you want, and we rotate through the classes. Now, why do I do this Quick Strike 21? You can join a martial arts academy anytime you want. Guess what? And you mixed with people of all skills. So today when I teach my class, or tomorrow, or on Tuesday when you go to the next class, if you join us, you're going to see some senior people in the class, some medium people, and some newbies. So in today's class, when I ask people how to design things, well, today's a business class, but you'll say yesterday's class when it was design, I had one of my more senior architects, a great one, guide the design. He was assisted by people that were in the program for a little while. And the brand new people just watched and observed and learned. Now, 4 weeks from now, when the senior architects are hired, those junior architects move to the senior role, and the junior people that are just sitting there and trying to learn for the last month, they become the intermediate architects, and now they've got some knowledge because they've got some experience. Senior architects design, junior architect, mid-tier architects help them, new people watch. Now those senior architects get hired, my mid-tier architects become the senior, the people that are the newbies go there, and that way they're there. And that way, if you have to go to India or Ethiopia for 6 months, I don't care, we can roll you right back in the class. And I say this because it happens all the time. By doing that, I'm in no rush to get you hired, none whatsoever. So that's why we do it, and you'll never miss anything, and you'll always be on time. While we're at it, I see the banners up there reminding me to say there's a 30% discount code right now. But Chris, what is the discount code right now? Is it fall or is it potential? Because you've got potential up there in the chat box. The discount code is 30 fall for 30% off of all our products. Chris, let's go to the next one. Lady Godiva, I love that name. Can you clarify a cloud architect versus a cloud architect that does networking? I understand that one's specialized. Are you designing, presenting, and selling? Yep. Are you focused on designing and presenting and selling the network solution? Or are you focused on designing and presenting and selling the whole solution? Cloud architects are always designing, presenting, and selling. That's the whole job. Meet with the customer, figure out their demands, figure out a design that's going to improve their business performance in one way, shape, or form, and sell it back to them. That's the whole job. Cloud networking, cloud security, anything, same job. Great question, Lady Godiva. Anakin, if you have gaps in your work history from trying to be a self-taught Forex and stock trading and no degrees from college, how do you make your resume more attractive to the computer? Anakin, I want you to take part in the resume training that's in the course. If you're not that far in the course, which you're not now, which means I don't want you working on your resume, because I'll tell you why. If you work on your resume right now, you're going to have 10 to 50 people reach out to you every week and try to hire you. And you're not going to be ready because you just joined us about 2 weeks ago. So there's not that. Balwinter was a wonderful student of mine who's working as a cloud architect now at Microsoft, and she was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years. And the next job she took was working in customer service. And she was all kinds of concerned with this. And I said, don't worry about it. We taught her and we worked on her resume as part of a group class. We took the things that she did which were relevant, highlighted it, and painted it to the position. And she was good. So, Anakin, there's going to be a 4-hour video that I'd like you to see from the last LinkedIn and resume workshop. It is in the weekly group classes folder, so you can see that. Anakin, when you're more established in the training, I know you just joined us, in a later section, there's going to be a tremendous amount of guidance. And when you get to that section, Anakin, because I know you're a student, you're going to turn in your document, and we're going to give you feedback. The entire team will give you feedback on it. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You'll be good with that. But realistically, it's about, if you were doing trading, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the trading. And here's why it doesn't matter. It's business-based, right? So you are looking at a business thing. It's just involved in money. And architect is all about transforming to make more money. So first, get the skills, Anakin. Secondly, you're part of an internship program by being part of the course. You'll be putting all those skills from the internship program that you're doing under the right section with the title that we recommend inside of the course to make sure that you have work experience as a cloud architect. If you look in the course, you'll have something that includes an associate position with us, and there's a specific set of things that you're going to be doing that is going to help you with that. So follow our LinkedIn branding, and I can't give that away for free on YouTube because it's one of our special things that we do. And follow our guidance. You'll be told how to list the work with us. You'll be taught how to change your past experiences to make it gapping from computers. And Anakin, it didn't matter if you'd work in tech too. Let's say you were a software engineer. What is their resume going to look like? It's going to be littered with coding in this, coding in this, coding in this, coding in this, and coding in this. And that's not what we want to see in an architect either. We have to change. So if somebody designed a new website, the engineers, and this is why they don't get hired unless they change things, want to talk about coding a website in Java and PHP and whatever else they use. For an architect position, that's 100% irrelevant. Now, if the person said design a new website, which includes revenue, which includes sales by 13%, which resulted in a net incremental revenue of $186 million, that's an architect. So there's so many things that need to occur in branding on your thing, so please follow the instructions in the course when you get there. But please don't do your resume yet, Anakin, because you've only been with us in a couple of weeks. And what you don't want to do is go on interviews when you're not ready, because what will happen is the company will interview you and they'll blacklist you. So please wait about 6 months before you tune your resume. Chris, we already answered this question. There's no certification that you can go for to become a cloud architect. Now, there are a couple certifications that will help you get an interview, like the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional is a good one. The Azure Solutions Architect Expert is a good one, but that's just the name of the service and how to configure that. Aziz, it's all about developing the network and the data center skills, the business acumen, leadership skills, and sales skills. So we already answered it, so I don't want to leave too much time about that, but keep that in the back of your mind. Eric, you really appreciate your help, Michael, and many thanks to your team. You're helping so many people in so many ways. Great perspective on everything you do. Thank you so much, Eric. I want everybody to build the best technology career. Does a cloud architect need to travel a lot? Used to. Is it compatible with family life and kids? Of course it does. I've been an architect for 25 years. I'm married. Now, in the old days, I would travel 200,000 miles plus per year. In the old days. But then Cisco came up with telepresence and WebEx, and then Teams came out and Zoom came out. So I'd say the travel that we're doing as architects now is not terrible. 20% of the time. And for the most part, it's fun travel. I mean, it's not like you're traveling and staying in uncomfortable places. You're typically traveling in 4- and 5-star hotels. You've got a good budget for food and wine and steaks and things like that. It's going to be a great one. So yes, there's travel, and it's highly compatible with family, wife, and kids. Here's one thing that's not highly compatible, struggling with family, wife, and kids. I mean, I've come from very limited means, but when you struggle to feed your family, that's really rough on a marriage. When your kids can't get what they need, that's really rough on a marriage. So having ample income and having great relationship development skills, because you've learned them for your career, is highly compatible with relationship. And I'll tell you, 90% of my graduates say, oh my God, once I've taken your class, I'm getting along better with my wife, my kids, my family. Because that's all about your emotional intelligence and your communication skills. So being more educated typically involves much better success with your family and life. And somebody told me when I first got married, life is a lot harder when you can't afford to take care of your family. So I worked hard and had the skills to take care of my family. And I've been married 26 years now. I love my wife. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I've traveled a lot, but I don't need to travel that much anymore. So keep that in the back of your mind. Let's go to the next question, Chris. Do network architects make more than cloud architects? About the same. About the same. Depends on how good you are. in either one. I know a lot of network architects that make a lot of money. A lot of them. But I also know some cloud architects that make a lot of money too. It's all about how good you are. Same thing. Are you focusing on just the network or focusing on the cloud? About the same. Networking is much more complicated than cloud, I'll tell you that right now. I've done both. It was 75,000 pages of reading for my CCIE. I'm not joking. And 500 pages of reading for an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. So, now, the Certified Solution Architect Professional won't make anybody a cloud architect. It takes about 50,000 pages of reading to become a cloud architect, which is why I created my course and summarized it all down to about 500 hours of training. Because most people aren't going to be me and read 75,000 pages to pass an exam. And 50,000 pages to build a career, I don't think is any big deal, but people don't love to read these days. So that's why we have the live training, and we have the in-person things, and we do all those things. But it takes a lot to build a career. And about the same. Depends where you're at, depends on the time. Good stuff, though. Lady Godiva, I know who you are. You're going to do great. What I think for you, pick what you enjoy most. That's going to be helping you as your posture is so strong. Your presence is very good. Your attitude is the kind of thing that would warm up a room. You'll make more anything you want based upon those things. So you've already got a lot of the really great skills. They're the skills that make you money. More business acumen, though, makes you more money. It's not about the tech. That's engineering. Architect's about the transformation. Let's go to the next one, Chris. John Daniel. Any live interview trainings come up and devaluing the previous ones? Absolutely. The next one is going to be in the beginning of October. And my team is going to put the registration link so you can register for your chance to participate, John. In fact, my team did it just now. Love to work with you on it. Ray Radham, you're new here. How long is your program bundle? It takes approximately 8 months on average for us to get someone a cloud architect or a cloud engineer job. We give you up to a year to complete the program, but I'd say about 8 months is average. Look, if you have a strong background, it might be a little shorter, 4 or 5 months, but all in all, what I would say is about 8 months on average. But at the time of 8 months, you're not going to have a worthless certificate. You're going to have a job if you do the work. Right. That's what makes me happy when my students are hired. About 8 months. If you've got any questions, and how do we do what we do? You said you're new here. We run 3 live classes per week on Zoom, where we design in real time together as a team. The students design it to me, they present it to me, and they sell it. We're not going to rush you. We're not about making a ton of money like a boot camp. We're here to get you hired. Now, in between live classes, there'll be video assignments for you to do, to give presentations, writing assignments for you to do. You'll even be designing and building your own cloud from scratch in our program. That's right. Any cloud architect should know how to build AWS from scratch, from the bare metal, and turn it into a full cloud. All my students can do that, any of them. They all know how to build the cloud. All my students build the cloud, and all my students learn the executive communication skills. So in between live classes, there's work that you do that you turn in and get feedback. There's lab environments. The key is, I just want you hired, Ray, and you got a year to get through my program. Reality is, if it took you a little longer than that, we'd probably let that happen anyway. I just care that you get hired. We say 1 year, but occasionally I've got somebody that needs a little longer because they had to visit family members in another country, and that's okay. We find a way to accommodate them whenever we can. Our goal is just to get everybody hired. It's all that matters to me. And if you've got some specific questions, I'd love to answer them. But for us, it's about getting hired. Oh, my little cat's right outside my door. Neighbors come in, you can get to see Cindy, my little kitten. Does the MCITP Solutions Architects Associate need to be on your resume when looking to be hired as a cloud architect? I don't even know what that is, in all honesty. And but what needs to be on your resume to be a cloud architect is something to show that you've got digital transformation knowledge. You've got the ability to design a solution, present it, and sell it. That you know how to take a problem and translate it into technology architecture. That you know how to lead a large team. So realistically speaking, I've gotten lots of people hired with 0 certifications. So what needs to be on your resume is something that shows you know how to do architecture. That's what matters, that you know how to do architecture. Hiring managers don't care about your certifications. They care, can you do the job? Do they like you? Can they trust you? Do you have energy, enthusiasm, passion, etc., etc.? I wish I could go longer today, but I've got another meeting that actually started 1 minute ago, and I don't want to be rude. So I want to thank you for all of your time. Please come back and ask questions, and let me finalize on the following thing. Next Thursday, we have a completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. If you're looking to get hired, we have a 30% off sale right now off of every program we have. And all I care about is that you get cloud hired. And if you want to get cloud hired, be like my students that get cloud hired every day of the week. Every day I've got a student getting cloud hired. The coupon code is 30FALL. So take advantage of this opportunity to get hired. I'll be running a free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. The link is in the description below and the chat box. I'll be running a free AWS Advanced Networking Plus, which guess what? Is an AWS Advanced Networking plus all the other stuff not covered in there that you need to know. I'm going to teach that as well. And follow us on LinkedIn because I'll be distributing so much content. And please check the link to the magazine article we wrote today in Training Mag, which my team will post a link for that as well, on all the stuff cloud architects need to succeed other than certifications. It's been an honor to see you all today and speak to you all today. You can give me a hashtag. Let's stop with the hashtags. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you. I'll be back free online Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time. Take care, everybody.